is
Good. Being
during
recorded.
that period of time, we actually started bringing delegations to Nicaragua. First, some student delegations in the mid '90s, and then starting in 2001, faculty and staff delegations, and then the Center for Global Engagement was a host, and we became partners, really close partners with Mark, and we came to know Kathy, and we came to know Anne, and it just been, such important people in our lives. And I think literally for about 15 years, we were taking delegations there. So just a
Yeah.
very, very meaningful part of our lives.
Did anybody from Loyola Marymount come down there?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes.
Okay, I teach at Loyola Marymount. So.
Oh, lovely.
Oh.
Lovely. Oh, we've had a lot of delegations from Loyola Marymount. Yeah, we had. Yeah.
Yeah, Kathy was super involved in hosting many of those delegations from throughout the Jesuit network.
The Jesuit,
Oh.
the Jesuit Ignatian Colleagues Program, right?
Right.
Do you remember
Well,
any of the names?
I'm sorry.
Do you remember any of the names from the LMU people or
Is it LMU from California or where?
Los
LMU?
Angeles? Yeah, Los Angeles.
Yes. Oh gosh. John Sebastian is there now, I think.
Okay.
John Sebastian. They just took a group to Namibia, actually.
Okay.
And Anne was very involved also with a lot of the Jesuit delegations. Yeah. Oh, look at this picture of Anne. Oh, look at these pictures. Lovely.
So beautiful, beautiful photos. Oh.
Oh, there's Mark's family. There's Anne with Mark's family. Oh, there's her mom.
Oh.
Nice. Lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, I think this is in Ireland, maybe. Oh. Oh, this is in Ireland. Yeah.
So you're reading the message that they don't have audio yet.
Oh no, I haven't seen that. Uh-huh.
So they're working on the audio on their end.
Okay.
That was from Roque.
Okay, good. Good.
Even though he is muted on that end.
Oh wow. There's the wedding. Oh, look at Xavier. Precious boy. Oh, look at her with the baby.
Oh my goodness, that's so wow. Little Xavier.
Beautiful picture. Great. Or the baby. Oh.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, this is during COVID. Yeah, during the COVID piece.
Yeah. Oh. This is precious to see these.
Wonderful, yeah. This is Roque when he was a baby. Sweet, sweet. I think that's probably at Boston College. Yeah. Oh, that's with my children, my grandchildren. That's with my grandchildren. Yeah, they were just together last year.
Oh, that's a great picture. Oh.
This is in Nicaragua.
Yes.
Oh, this is Mark's family. Nice. With grandma. Oh.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Mark's family. Oh. This is Anne's dad. Yeah. Oh God. These are the sisters, Maryknoll sisters.
Wow.
Yeah.
Can you all hear us?
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, Roque, we can
Yes.
hear you.
We
We
can't
just
hear
heard
you. Sorry. I heard
You You can't hear us or you can hear us?
I don't think they can.
Okay. They might need speakers.
Oh. Oh. Because we're unmuted. We can hear each other, right? They,
It's a bit mumbled, but we heard that a little bit.
yeah, a little bit of more.
Nobody's talking now, so we are silent. We should keep talking so they know when we're talking.
Yeah.
Entonces,
true.
Blanca, Nandi, Rodrigo, David, estudiaron en la Centroamérica
Yes, that's right.
Yes, with Mara.
with Mara.
They all
That's
speak
great.
English. You all speak English.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And Sabine y Maria. Did they-
Sabine is one of our friends too.
Okay. That's
And
nice.
I'm a friend of Maura's as well from Boston.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Nice.
This technical stuff is always tricky, isn't
I'm so happy to see it happen in the United States though as well, because
it?
sometimes we think it's just us. And it's
It's
nice
true.
to see that it's not just us.
It is true. It is true. Side by side gallery. Okay. Isn't it interesting that we can all hear one another, but that they can't hear us?
Oh, they can hear us.
We can't hear them.
That's right. We did.
For a moment. For Mark, we are having a mic. He said, and we will have a mic. So hope, I don't know, I didn't see that. Let's see.
So we can hear you now, but it's faint because it's very loud in here while people are getting food. But once people settle down with their food, I think we'll be able to hear each other really clearly. So you can talk amongst yourselves right now and it won't interrupt whatever's going on here. So we'll get some food and we'll be back in a little bit.
Okay,
Thanks.
that sounds
Thanks,
good.
Maura.
Thanks, Mara.
That's fine.
And
Thanks,
you,
honey.
you can see the slideshow. Can
We
you get a
are
thumbs up
watching
if you can see the slideshow?
Lovely.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, great.
Thank
We'll
you.
be back in a bit then. Thank you all
Okay.
for joining us.
Love you.
Buen provecho.
Pregúntale. Pregúntale, pregúntale. Ajá, pregúntale. Sí. Oh, there's John Spain. And there's her mom and dad. Yeah, there's her mom. Oh, sweet. Oh, so she's pregnant. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Sweet. There's the women's group. Oh. Mm, beautiful. Mhm. Mhm. Mm. Oh, this is Ana Xiomara. Mm. Mora. Mm. Oh, beautiful. It's her sister. Oh. Mhm. The wedding, Roque's wedding. Oh, sweet. Oh. Mhm. Oh, Bullman. The
Good
family.
place.
Yeah. Huh. Oh. Oh. Mm. Mhm.
That's me in the picture with Ann. That was in college.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, Kathy, do you know where did she get that hat for her wedding?
That was her wedding hat, though. That was her wedding.
Where did it come from?
Her sister brought it from the States. Her
Yeah.
sister brought it from the States.
It was in the family then. I knew there had to be a reason for that hat.
Oh, I don't think it was in the family. I think that's what they chose, and she brought it down, right, Mary?
She purchased it, yeah.
She purchased
So
it, yeah.
there's Jess Campbell and Gary Campbell.
Yeah, look.
Oh,
Yeah. No, she wanted that hat.
It's very extravagant for Anne.
Very,
yeah.
very unusual. It's a very unusual choice for her. Yes.
That's why I figured there had to be a story.
Just that she wanted it.
Good for
I
her.
don't really think she wanted it. I think her sister wanted it for her. Because Anne didn't like attention to herself, you know.
Yeah.
But she looked so beautiful that day. She looked so beautiful.
And you, those who were at the wedding, can you tell us more?
Oh, it was lovely. It was in a very poor neighborhood. People were walking kind of in the dust but it was very joyful, a very, very joyful celebration. And actually the celebration was Jean Miller, who was a sister, a nun. I can't remember what group she was from. Was she Sisters of St. Joseph, I think? Charity, I don't remember. But
she was Charity, yeah.
She's a Sister of Charity, and she was the witness, yeah, in the neighborhood.
So I was a lay missioner with in the group after Anne. And the thing is, my parents came and visited me for my 30th birthday. And they met Mark and Anne, and they found out they were getting married. My father was a deputy chief of police. And the thing is, he retired and was working for Social Security. So anyhow, when he found out we're getting married, he said, "Oh, I would love to go to the wedding. I'd love to go down." So he asked for time off from Social Security and they denied it. He quit the job, which is not like my father at all. And he went down for the wedding. And we were on this rented bus for all these places with Ann and Mark after the wedding with the family. And my father said, "Oh, I'm so glad to be on your honeymoon." You know, it was a great celebration.
It was the bus of the Center for Global Education.
Right.
Mark and Ann rented because we had a driver that it was very much of our total confidence. And so he drove them around. He drove all these families around, Mark's family, Ann's family, and you and your family.
Yeah.
That's great.
Was it in Managua, Kathy? Was the wedding in Managua?
The wedding was in a barrio. Yeah, Osvaldo Manzanares, a very poor neighborhood. They decided to get married in the barrio. And then they traveled around on the CGE bus. You know, they rented a bus and they traveled and they went to special places with the family. His family and yeah.
That's so fantastic.
Hello?
It was like a delegation.
Well, here he comes.
Oh, here we are.
Hi. We hear you.
Thank you all for coming here. It means, and being online, means more than I can possibly express. To have you here, share in the love and the pain and everything that coexists in the situation. So we had kind of conceptualized this as a time to share stories about mom. Anything that you want to share. You know, you don't have to, it's not a competition who makes everybody cry the loudest or whatever. It's, you know, it can be happy, it can be sad. I think part of the loss that I'm feeling, I think we all are feeling, is I know my mom is my mom, and there's multiple dimensions to any human being, and so I want to hear, not to guilt trip you, but I want to hear about your, experience of mom too. So you don't have to share by any means, and hopefully we can work out a system where we can go one in person and one on Zoom, something like this. Sorry.
And I think, sorry, not to interrupt, but just in terms of logistics, since we do have people on Zoom and people in person, and if you were wondering what the voices you could hear around you are, the people on Zoom. So we're thinking maybe, just so that we make sure if there's people online that want to share and people in person, we're going to try to alternate. So if you're on Zoom, if you could use the raise your hand feature or type in the chat that you'd like to share. But we'll have someone, I think Regan will be monitoring the Zoom. So just kind of like note for us, whether it's by raising your hand or typing in the chat, I'd like to share. And then Regan will know you're in line. And if there's someone in person wanting to share, we'll have them go, then we'll have someone on Zoom, then in person, and we'll try to alternate like that in a way that makes sense. So does that sound like a good plan for everybody?
Great.
All right, so I'll start. I don't have it's hard to with one story, but I think what I always remember is she just delighted in everything that we did, and she was so happy with us about all of the things in our life. So one thing that I remember was I was in kindergarten and we were driving back from her picking me up, and I said that I had a crush on this girl in kindergarten, and she said, "Oh, sorry," and I was like, mental note, never doing that again. But she was so happy because I was happy.
Yeah.
Oh, whoever wants to.
I have a suggestion. Could you maybe turn the slideshow off so that the screen could get bigger for us
Sure.
on Zoom? Unless people want to continue watching it. Oh, that makes it bigger for us. So thank you.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't know. Do you want me just to share next? Can you hear me? Okay, then I'll be done. So as you all know, Anne was a part of this, what we call the coffee group. So to give everybody information, this group of about 10 women gathered Thursday afternoons at the Casa Cafe here in Managua. And then when I moved to Managua from Rio Blanco in 1994, they very graciously invited me to join this coffee group. We gathered for coffee and celebrated each other's birthdays. We drew names for Christmases. We had an unforgettable all-inclusive Thanksgiving dinner with juicy food and choice wine, Nicaraguan style, at Ann and Mark's house. And I actually think that's the only time all of our children and partners all came together. I really wish we would have done that more. This group provided each other support. We celebrated sorrows and joys. Anne's place in this group, in my opinion, was the rock star mom. He was your champion, Rocky and Maura. I remember Anne helped me host a violence-free piñata for our son Gabriel. Gabriel had been traumatized by a piñata earlier when his favorite purple dinosaur Barney was bludgeoned by sugar-crazed kids trying to get at more candy. Anne also hosted Easter egg painting, and she showed us that a ladder with enough lights on it could make a magnificent Christmas tree. She was a model. We miss her. And I want you to know that her love, her light, and her spirit will live with all of us. Thanks for having us. Bum, bum.
Thank you very much. Anybody in person?
Yeah, we have someone on Zoom lined up next, but it's not. And it's that right.
That was me. I just did it.
Thank you very much.
Anne was your own name, such a giving and thoughtful and always thinking of others. And when she found out, they told her she had 2 years left. My sister Claire and I went out there to spend some time with them. And she had always had something goofy to eat in there. She's Gojo berries. And I liked them. And I said, oh my God, where'd you get these? And she said, oh, they're from Costco or wherever. And I said, well, let me take a picture. And she goes, no, take the bag, take the bag. I said, no, let me take a picture. I'll find them at home. So I took a picture. So we get home 2 days later, and you know, she never has a mean word or voice. Her tone is always sweet as can be. Anyway, she called and she said, why did you cancel my order on the so she sent me, just like she knew I like these milk chocolate things. So for my birthday, you're not supposed to give gifts in our family, but I would get milk chocolate candies from her. And so anyway, she said, why did you cancel my Gojo berries? And I said, Anne, I don't know what you're talking about. She said, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You canceled my order. And I said, first of all, when you send me things like you're not supposed to, chocolate and all that stuff, did I ever turn them back? No, I ate them. I would never. And second of all, I'm computer illiterate. She sent me there during her last, few weeks of living. She sends me, always thinking of somebody else. Sends me the goji berries, and somehow I think I can't do it. But always giving, always thinking of others.
Anne was someone who only needed a small space to leave a big impact. Anne and I both were members of this famous coffee group here in Managua. And at one point we were 10 opinionated, experienced women who had a lot to discuss about our lives within the socioeconomic and political context of Nicaragua, the world, and in the US. And our gatherings were always loud, sometimes raucous. And you could say most of us occupied a lot of space to get our points across. And sometimes we interrupted, but Anne never interrupted. She often occupied only a small space to leave space or create space for others to shine. And when she spoke, her opinion was always worth listening to. Sometimes she only had to roll her eyes across the room to make a point. And I loved that sparkle in her eyes when she giggled and put a humorous spin on a really serious conversation. I miss her deeply. Rest well, dear compañera Anne. Rest in the power of love, in the power of joy, in the power of justice. You are always presente, presente, presente.
On the topic of my mom rolling her eyes, that was in the last few days we spent with her at the hospital. You know, when I first got there on Saturday and she died on Monday. And when I got there on Saturday, sorry, I can't review. Maybe I'll. Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. So I arrived on Saturday and she died on Monday. When I got there, she could still speak a little bit, but it was getting hard. And as time went on, it was harder and harder for her to have the energy to say words, right? But despite that, she was still able to roll her eyes at my dad repeatedly. So that was like one of the signs that he knew eventually she was fully present with us right up until the end. It was truly my mom through and through until the very last.
Please just leave it. It's fine, the lips here.
I think Sanya is next.
Honey, it's okay.
I knew Anne through our work at Center for Global Education. That's how I got to know her, and I always will think of her in her unassuming way. You know, like I think like Sharon was saying that she was always, you know, she always had this way of shining the light on others. And yet at the same time, she was always so good at being present for everybody. But I also want to say that that I'm here also because I want to more than anything give thanks to Anne and to Maura and Roca and Mark, because you see, Anne, you know, I have this deep gratitude. Anne gave me a gift just before she parted. She thought of me and my sister, and this gift that she left me has been a blessing at this time in my life. And so I'm so just honored and touched by the fact that she was thinking of me. But I think I'm not surprised, because I think she thought of always of others and gave herself so selflessly. So I just want to say thank you, and I really want to say thank you for the gift of also of Maura, whom I've also, you know, become friends with, and has been a wonderful a blessing in my life too. So thanks.
Likewise, thank you so much. It looks like we have another person online ready to share. Does anybody want to share in person? People on Zoom are saying to remember to speak into the mic so they can hear you.
My husband Jeff is Mark's brother, and we were fortunate enough to be able to go to Managua when they got married. And it was the most amazing trip I've ever taken. I was just soaking up everything Mark was telling us about the country, and he said we were the hardest tour group he ever had because we asked so many questions.
But Anne at the time was living in the barrio with the people she was serving. And I was just so impressed with that, the life that she had chosen. And she told me a funny story. The house she lived in had some roommates, some housemates, and there was a man who came by every day selling cleaning supplies and things. And one of the ladies in the house would go out every day when he yelled, Pinot Sol, which was pine sol, and she would buy some from him every day. But then that lady moved from the house, but the man still kept coming by, and he would start yelling louder and louder, Pinot Sol, but that lady wasn't there. And the rest of them, they must have got a story. But I was just so in awe of Anne and the life she chose giving to other people. And final thing, we were supposed to all go to Michigan together. Unfortunately, that's when Anne took a turn for the worse and they couldn't come with us. And we were on the golf course when we got the call that Anne had passed. And Greg, my son-in-law, came up to me and told me, and I had the golf ball in my hand. I had just finished the hole, and I got so angry all of a sudden, and I wanted to just throw that golf ball down as hard as I could. But there was this twosome behind us, and I thought, oh, I can't do this. So I just stood there for a minute. And I walked off, and they were coming right down the hill. And I thought, I'm going to tell this couple to pass us up. Well, I told the lady, I said, I'm sorry, I took an extra minute there. I said, we just learned of the passing of a family member. And she hugged me. And she said, I'm so sorry. And she said, we will say special prayers for your family. So we've got prayers for people, complete strangers.
Thank you.
Brandon.
Yeah, there we go. Hi, I'm Fran. I'm one of the Lesters. I'm the oldest of the Lester grandchildren. And to give you some perspective, I was in high school when Roque was born. So there's many years between us in age. So when I was growing up and Uncle Mark moved to Nicaragua, whenever he would come back, it was always a great, joyous occasion. Uncle Mark's back, Uncle Mark's back. And then he said he was getting married. So we're like, hooray, he's getting married. And then it became Mark and Ann. So it was like one word, Mark and Ann, Mark and Ann. Mark and Ann are from Nicaragua. Hooray, we all got to go see Mark and Ann from Nicaragua. And the thing is about the Lesters, there's a lot of us. And we're known for being a little loud sometimes. So it kind of takes a big person to marry into the family. You got to have a lot of patience. You have to be willing to deal with the noise. You have to be willing to deal with the laughter and the love, because we always give a lot of it. And she fit right in. She fit right in, like she was always supposed to be there. And now we have Roque, and we have Mara, and we have Elizabeth and Regan and Xavier, and it's all wonderful. But there's always going to be somebody missing. When my grandparents died, it was a big hole, it was a big loss for the family. And that was really hard to adjust. And I think it's going to be hard to adjust without Anne being there too. She was always so nice. And she just treated all of us nieces and nephews, just, you know, she just gave us all love as well. And I'm really gonna miss her. And we're okay. And Mara and Uncle Mark, I'm sorry I'm not there. I wish I could be there with you. I love you guys.
And instructed my mom to teach me how to do things, like make a bar. Believe it or not, they can, I know, my first year here, honey. I don't know what much. But one of the things. When Dawn and I were getting married, Ann and I went to Vegas for the day before. To that were coming in out of town. And we're at her wedding, and remember since that Mom and I need to talk to you about something. And I thought, oh my God, he's giving the night before the wedding card. So, they wanted in. And I was, so, I'm really happy. As a worker. And I'm gonna use my short-term credit. They had like a bachelor party in the bar. And all of it, everyone. And they felt. Mirror. We said. And it was called. And nicely. She had. Was it? You know, so I love the video. Because God was calling.
Leandro, I think you're up next.
Leandro?
Hi, guys. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
Wow, it's been a long time without talking to you guys. I for those who don't know me, my name is Leandro. I grew up next door of the house, so Senora Ana, that's how I call her. I grew up like playing with Rocky and Maura. My family and I were very, very sorry for your loss, and I wanted to share, like, it's been years without like being in contact to each other. Life gave us like different paths to follow, and everyone is living their own life and going in their own way. But I wanted to share that now that I'm getting older, now that I'm growing, now that I'm experiencing different things in life, there are little things that I remember about my childhood that they impact me nowadays. And one of them, it was the goodwilling of my neighbors, and especially Mrs. Ann or Senora Ana, about how she treats everyone with care and kindness and love. And she teach me certain values by just the example of the actions that she made. And for me, there were like things that they were kind of like odd for myself, like why this person is doing this type of things, why this person expressed this way, why this person that is not my family express like this type of love to me, like I'm just their neighbor. And then I start like learning about that, and I feel like that's a valuable lesson that it always goes with me, like to be a good neighbor, to learn how to be a person who shares love. And I always remember her like with a lot of joy. I remember when sometimes I used to play my rusty guitar on my garage with the high volume as I can. And one day she approached to me, and I thought she was going to say, "Hey, can you put it down a little bit or something like that?" But instead she told me, "Keep rocking on. We're liking it." And that's something that stays with me, like that enjoyment of life. And yeah, that's...
Muchas gracias, Leandro, y gracias por estar aquí. Thank you, Leandro. Thank you for being. It would be better if people stand here so that the people on here see it, if that's all right.
I don't usually like the maintenance. I mean, so many friends have gone by, and the outpost didn't order the pizza. It's not big. So many over the last 38 years. I guess I wanted this thought to come naturally. The last 38 years has taught me what friendship really means. Over the last 38 years, I left Nicaragua in 1988. However, Ann and Mark have remained such good friends that anytime we have to Boston, I would always get a call. And I think that's the definition of friendship that people never forget. I never forget. I never reach out to Ian all the time, except the week before she died. And infrequently I did with a call, but they were never in Boston when they didn't call me. Even when I take them for a pilgrimage to the Idaho. You couldn't find any place to find breakfast around the Boston area. But what can you say? It was a marvelous woman. Maybe I could summarize it in a line that was written to the email after I sent a classmate of mine the blog on Ian that Mariano published. And this woman who was suffering from MS and has just lost her husband said, "You know, Patty, Ian is an inspiration of the love of God." That says it all. Thanks.
Betsy, you're up next.
That's go
Thanks for doing this, Maura and Roque. I really appreciate that you're able to facilitate this for those who couldn't be there, and loved Anne a lot. And thank you for your eulogy during the Mass and being able to include us in that. I want to try to be brief, and just Anne and I shared the history with Nicaragua, but we met in college. The two of us were part of a group house of the Center for Social Justice called Haley House at Boston College. And I'll tell one story. It was the time, late 70s, the infant formula boycott was going on, boycott Nestle. And we lived in this house where we cooked together and there were people of varying abilities of cooking, I'll just say. And so sometimes after dinner, Ann and I would go up where we lived on campus to get candy from one of the candy machines. And one time we get there and in the bottom of the candy machine is a Nestle Crunch bar. So Ann and I have this whole philosophical conversation about the morality of whether we should take this Nestle Crunch bar or leave it or throw it out. And you can imagine Ann took this position that we should not eat it. And that, you know, she was just always, she walked the walk. And that's what I always admired, and has always been a model for me about walking the walk and not just talking the talk. And I miss her, I admire her. And I'll just say that I was so glad when she found Mark, who really brought so much joy into her life. And as people have said, it was Ann and Mark, Mark and Ann, however you want to think of it. And my heart goes out to you, Mark, and also to Roque and Mara and all. She's left a big hole. So thank you.
Thank you, Rachel. We'll have Elizabeth share next in person. I am Elizabeth. I am with my mother. You eat that? The Savior. We miss Randy a lot. Yes, we do. We have the privilege of Ann and Mark moving to Iowa in 2021. And he turned it off.
Sorry.
Okay. And most people might feel a little bit nervous about having her in-laws so close to them after being oceans away. But it was really nice having them so close. And again, it's really great to know them in that way. And I think I'll always remember how Anna just really took me in. I didn't feel like an other. She always did her best to make me feel really special and cared for too. And she would like just happen to bring us lasagnas, and she would bring us one for the freezer and one to eat. She'd do the same with quiches, and they're both vegan, of course, so it was an extra step of making because they didn't have the ingredients lying around. It's really sweet to provide for us in that way. And then she was just really wonderful. Sorry for everybody else, you can probably hear him stuff in the night. Can you say bye-bye? Okay, I'll leave it.
Kathy,
Kathy, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear? So I met Ann in 1984. Can you hear? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I met Ann in 1984 at Maryknoll. She was 27 and she had just joined the lay mission program. And my family and I were visiting Maryknoll and talking about the situation in Nicaragua. I was expecting my third child, who is actually there. Maria Belén Power is there to celebrate and honor Ann today in Kansas with you. And I had the great joy of celebrating Ann and Mark's wedding with them and the birth of their children, the happiness that brought each of their children. And I worked with Ann over 30 years, more than 30 years, close to 38 almost. But most importantly, she was a part of our women's group where we celebrated joy and important events. And even when Xavier was born, the great joy of Zoom to be able to celebrate his birth, and celebrated his birth and the first months of his life. And so I think now it's really difficult to express what Ann has meant to us, but keeping that in mind, I would like to share the following. It is now when her wisdom becomes more clearly manifest in the blue mosaic of a life lived with grace, dignity, love, and generosity. It is now when we are asked to love more deeply, even when it hurts, even when our hearts are broken, even when each daybreak whispers her absence again and again. It is now when she makes clear to us that it is in the simple acts of kindness where light breaks through the darkness, where the cobwebs of indifference are swept away with the goodness of heart. It is now, especially now, when her example shines like the North Star under the night sky. We remember her in the visit of the hummingbird, in the diligence of the mama bird feeding her babies, and we are reminded of the abundant harvest of a life that beckons our own. Godspeed, Anne.
Thank you.
Hi, I just want to remember the story and in the early 70s, we kind of got a grasp of recycling. She loved to do that. First thing, it's really, I think, glass. Or at a recycling place behind their place. And she joined that and helped get it organized. And so she organized the brothers and sisters. And so every Saturday or every other Saturday for summer, I think, we got to go down and recycle glass and put it in this thing they called the Whopper. So it was a Whopper recycling. And I just love, that story because she was always at the beginning of something. And then later on, I think while she was at Boston, she got into the recycling again, helped out with getting deposits. She was very involved with everything. We love her, and she was always a joy to be around her. She was a rock. She was my whole family.
Thank you for that. I didn't know I knew deposits thing. I didn't know about the deposit thing. That's pretty cool. Toby, you're next.
Hi, can you hear me? You can. I feel really privileged to be here and to hear from all of you who knew Anne over the years. And I first met Anne in 1971 when my family moved to. Sorry, I didn't think I'd be like this. When my family moved to Kansas, County, Kansas. And Anne was one of the first people I met. She lived, her wonderful family, a block away from us. And we hit it off right away. And I don't even know how that happened. I was moving from another country. I didn't know anybody. I was very nervous. And I'm pretty sure, I don't remember the details, but I'm pretty sure Anne came up to the house and introduced herself and became my friend immediately. And I want to share this especially with Rocky and Maura, because I love the fact that I was able to meet you when you all came over to Ireland a few years ago. But I don't remember spending a lot of time reminiscing about what our years together were like. And I would just love to share a little bit about that with you, because everything I'm hearing now about Anne and the things she did in the interim years between when we sort of we just went our own way and then we came back together. And I love the fact that I met her again in recent years. But everything you're describing about someone who walks the walk and lives according to the values that are so important to her. All those seeds were there back when she was 14 years old, and we were normal teenage kids. We spent many hundreds of hours in her basement bedroom in Shawnee, listening to Crosby, Stills and Nash and Bob Dylan and many, many hours of Cat Stevens. And we loved it. And we loved going to flea markets and Goodwill and buying clothes that somebody threw away in the 50s or 40s even. And we weren't at all into what the sort of fashion was for the time, but whatever we could sort of pull together and do on our own, and we loved it, and we were normal teenage kids, but there was also always in her this more. There was always more. So from very early on, I remember she and I went to a place called the Wamper that I think was somewhere in around the plaza in Kansas City, and there was a recycling center. And we used to throw bottles together in these big things that got pushed down and crushed by this machine called the Wamper. And her father, Bill, got us into that. And so we were very early environmentalists in that way. And she also, I think, when I was fortunate to spend part of a summer in Hummerock with the McSweeney family in that fantastic beach house. And that was the summer that we spent half the summer sitting on the couch watching the Watergate hearings. And those are all things that probably would not have happened in my life if Anne and her family were not part of me. We wouldn't have been. I think that she showed me that what I think of as activism was not something that only certain people can do, but that anybody can integrate it into their life. And it had a huge impact on all of my life. I don't think that I would have gone in the directions that I have gone on if I hadn't had those discussions and those experiences with her and her father and her mother and the whole family that really moved me in a direction. It was different than Anne's direction, but it still included things like walking the walk and living a life where you were doing something that was meaningful and would improve things. And I owe that to Anne and her family. And I'm so sad. I just also want to say that a lot of people who have those values, those doing the good of society and progressive values, they get very caught up in the politics and the philosophy and the sort of the trappings of it. And what I know about Anne myself and what I'm hearing from you is that Anne didn't get stopped at the door of the dogma. She could be just as philosophical and just as political as anybody else, but as soon as somebody walked in the door who needed something, she was there attending to that person, and that was really unique. And I'm so glad that I had the chance to meet her children and Mark and her family. We met in Ireland a few years ago, and then we happened to meet. We were in northern Spain at the same time, just before COVID, and that was so important to me. And I'm so glad I had that opportunity. And I just thank you all for letting me be part of her life. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. We're really grateful for that. Meet you and see you and like come together like that after hearing so many stories about you and her.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, I mentioned music, so it brought to mind like that her and my dad would always sing to us to go to sleep. And it was a lot of, Cat Stevens, everybody we mentioned. But there was one that me and my sister would always ask for that I don't know, we can't find it when we Google it, but it's literally a list of French cathedrals. And like uncomplicated, just like singing it in a, like maybe a, learning French children, like kind of song. And we would ask for it, she would, oh, God, okay. I don't know, so somebody else can share.
Actually, sitting in the passing, I've been thinking a lot about memories I was trying to think of all the good things. And it's really interesting because I don't have any like specific anecdote. I'm realizing that there's a good portion. The theme of my life that was written by him. And it's like little things, silly things. I remember back when we were kids driving on vacations, driving anywhere. The songs that we would sing were orchestrated by Anne. I mean, she knew them, right? She knew the words, and we would all try and sing with her and stuff. But she knew them all. And it's that kind of thing where I go through life, and there's this little sort of voice in my head, and part of that voice is always Anne, and she's definitely the ethical measure in my life. And absent the eye roll when I say something, I'll have to just remember that it's her voice. It's always there. It's sort of as kind of a rudder. That is this the right thing to do? Is this the right way to look at life? And sorry I can't be more eloquent about it, but that she's just always going to be there that way. And it kind of makes me happy because really the only thing I think about are all of the wonderful moments in our lives together. Anyway, thanks.
I think, I know I've got that little voice in my head. But it's neat to hear how it's not just their children who have that voice.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
If you can speak up.
Okay. Okay. Hi. Well, thank you for the family for creating this little piece. I know there's a lot of people clearly here who wanted to display love to Anne and to the family. Mara's friend from high school, and I live in Nicaragua. A little group of us here in Nicole. And I want to thank, everyone that I've heard today. You've mentioned Nicaragua a lot, and it's really, really moving to all of us, to hear how you have lived here, how you have, worked here, and like how much you have care about this country that maybe you didn't have like action at the beginning, or like maybe you heard of Nicaragua because of Anne. I'm not quite sure how this worked. But thank you very much. I also heard some messages about UCA University and like how you were reading the news and like what's going on. It's really moving, to know that there's people outside Nicaragua who's, reading and who cares. So thank you all for that. Like more when I was in high school, like before that even, and I obviously met Anne as well, Miss Anne, and she was just such a beautiful soul, and she was always so kind with us. I know of so many like study groups that took place in Mara's house, and like to picture this, you can imagine like 10 to 15 teenagers. I know that she was always welcoming everyone that went to her house. Mara is brilliant, so these study groups were for Mara to help all of us who needed her a lot. So thank you for that too, Mara. And she was always, very caring. Like I remember she would like get little cupcakes for everyone. She would make sure that everyone was, well taken care of while they were there. So that's something that like she didn't have to do. But like you said, she's a person that walks that talk, and she would do that. So we have so many beautiful memories of her. Like she took care of us so much, and she gave such a beautiful example of like love and caring and helping, you know, the people that surround you, even if you don't know them, even if they're not your family. She was always there willing to help everyone. And we're very lucky to have shared time with her. And we're always going to be very grateful for everything that she did, you know, for everyone that was near her, for the country. And like, we have Maureen, she's one of my best friends, and I know she's very close to a lot of people here too, and we're just so lucky to have her. I think there's a huge legacy of love that's here at the moment, and we're just very lucky to have shared and received and learned so much from Miss Anne. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Love you.
You too.
Hi, I'm the youngest sibling, so I got the perpetual eye roll my entire life. I want to share a couple stories, exemplars of the way she lived and how it was deep rooted, ingrained in her from an early age. I'm going to tell a story about the volleyball camp. So I had to go up to volleyball camp with Ann, accompanying. Siobhan was going to volleyball camp. We were dropping her off, driving up to Iowa, small school in Iowa, just over the border. We were driving back, just Ann and I, just a back seat, old station wagon, like 1974, 1975, something like that. And I'm asleep. And all of a sudden we're driving about 45 minutes later, probably. I wake up and there's just a stench in the car. No, what the heck is this? It woke me up from a sound sleep. She had picked up the hitchhiker. And he was told not to by all the parents. And I was like, who the heck is this? And she's like, don't say a word, don't say a word, don't say a word. And I was like, I started like getting real nervous. I was like, we don't know who this is. We don't know who this is. And so she pulled over. He's like, I'll get out. I still remember that. I'll get out. And I felt bad for the rest of the ride home. We dropped him off, I think, at a rest area. She wasn't going to let anybody not be safe on that road, but she was afraid for a fifth grader who was screaming probably bloody murder. And I think every sibling in this, and probably Chris Axelmeyer would agree with this as well. If you dropped anything out of the car, she would stop, pull over, make you walk back, pick it all up, and then pick up 5 other pieces of trash that you saw on this. So she. And I think just hearing everybody talk in terms of the legacy she's leaving, she's left, it's ingrained in all of us. Beautiful, beautiful life. Beautiful, beautiful person. Miss you.
Thank you, Sean. There are some messages in the chat. Should I read them? Sure. Message from Mary Delaney. I knew Anne from the time I was a Marino lay missioner back in the 80s and early 90s. She was a great teacher with a keen eye for social analysis. I was, as well as my parents, able to participate in Anne and Mark's wedding celebrations, both a civil and then a religious ceremony. I will always remember the gorgeous hat she wore that day. I believe Anne's sister Siobhan brought it to her from the US. She was so stunning and she was so very much in love with Mark. We all felt the love they had for one another. My parents came for their wedding and participated in all the activities Anne and Mark planned for their families. I remember we were on the bus they rented at Momotombo, and my father had commented to Anne and Mark, "We're having a great time on your honeymoon." Thank you for making us feel welcome, Anne and Mark. And McSweeney, from
That's
what's it? Oh, Bert. Bert, go ahead. Go ahead and share. Sorry, I missed it.
Thank you, Maura. I wanted to say that I met Anne about 15 years ago when we would have dinner at the end of a delegation that came from Boston College, made up of faculty and staff. And we would have dinner in the most incredible restaurant overlooking the city of Managua. And it was always a highlight to see Anne and Maura as well at these dinners, because everyone in the group knew that she graduated from BC and that she was somebody who represented a kind of ideal that the university has for how to give back to the world. We talk a lot about solidarity, but Anne really lived it her whole life. And that inspired professors and administrators for over a decade who came and met her at that meal. And I miss her a lot, and I miss those chances to interact. And but I know that her legacy does live on in teaching and leadership that happens at this school. And I'm just so grateful for the chance to be with people to celebrate her life.
Thank you, Parker, and thank you for everybody, you and Dan and all the other BC faculty and administrators that went to Nicaragua to accompany me while I was at BC so far with Paul. So I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and read some of the other comments that are in the chat. From Donna Pelasova. My computer speaker is not working correctly. I so appreciate all the wonderful memories of Anne, and my memories of her will sustain.
I'm not sure. On the website, my friend's funeral.
We are heartbroken and will carry you with us as we continue to negotiate the growing waters of the Spanish world.
Hey everyone, hi Mom. I'm the coffee ladies. Hi everyone, my name is Maria Belen, and I am Catherine's youngest daughter. I've known Mark and Anne my whole life. They met my parents before I was born. And I know the coffee group. I just felt like, we have to meet every week or every couple of weeks, however often they met. It was on a Thursday. I will always remember. But one of the things I do remember was we didn't really celebrate US holidays or when we lived in Nicaragua. And I do remember that with Mark and Ann, and maybe it was at a different house of someone else, we celebrated Halloween. And it was so fun. We got to dress up. It's not a thing that's celebrated in Nicaragua, or that is sort of anything. It's not a thing in Nicaragua. It is now. But I do remember every time we went to their house, it was just so fun and so much joy. And the last time you both came to Boston, we actually went to Salem, Massachusetts, which I had never been to, even though I've been in the Boston area for about 12 years. And so the last piece I want to share is I go to the Paula Center, and I know that Anne used to go to the Paula Center in Boston. And I will always think of her when we're there. Love you, Mark. Love you guys.
Thanks, Maria. And I remember we all went through a haunted house in Salem with your girl. And now it's my mom's last trip to Boston too. Thank you for helping it special. I'm going to read some of the other comments in here. There's one from Joe Orlando. So I'm Harlan from Seattle here. We are so moved by these stories and tributes and the eulogy from Warren Rosen. Lifting up the life of Anne, whom we feel blessed to come to know, gracious and generous, welcoming us and sharing goodness with all our love, Jill and Park. Thank you. Dania says, the world needs more Annes, kind, giving, wicked smart, principled, and so humble. I think I had seen another comment from Sonia saying that she made the most amazing lasagna. I agree, and I know there's many people on this call that agree with that. And brownies, yeah. A message from Case says, from another member of the Nicaraguan Coffee Group, here's another example of Anne's walk on the walk. She refused to pay Nicaragua traffic police suspected bribe and stopped for non-existent traffic violations. I actually remember being in the car for one event and the cop had pulled her over. She said she ran on a stop sign. And I remember her, because you couldn't like outright say that they were bribing you, right? Like you couldn't name it. But I remember her being like, you want me to do this in front of my daughter? You want me to set this example? And he's like, no, I'm sorry. Message from Kitty Madden. I am not in a space where I can talk, but my heart overflows with gratitude for Anne and Mark and Roque and Laura and Silvia. Thanks so much for helping us share the celebration. Love from Michigan. And now message from Kathleen Bates, who's Regent's aunt and godmother. I did not know Anne, but I've been blessed to meet and know Maura through Regan. The description you have all shared with Anne sounds so much like Maura. I wish so much that I could have known Anne. Thank you. I think that's it. Is there anyone else that would like to share?
So I am one of the fortunate sister-in-laws. There's three of us here. I'm not the oldest. I start off with that. The very first time I met Anne, I got the eye roll. It was, I think, the second date of Billy and I, and he had invited me over to the McSweeney home to go swimming. The entire family was there. Now, I am an only child, and I come from a very tiny family. So to walk in and have the entire McSweeney family there, a little intimidating to begin with. And I did not know much about the parents, did not know that Bill was Hallmark through and through. Anne was Hallmark, Mary and Joe Hallmark. You've been hearing Hallmark, the kids have worked at Hallmark, and did everything at Hallmark. Did not know that. So I'm going to go, and I really want to make a good impression. So I bring a thank you card for inviting me. We're sitting around, they open up the card, it's from American Greetings. I don't know why everybody's silent. And Anne looks at the card, she does the eye roll, and she goes, you know what, we're just gonna forget about this. Well, something goes, going, well, my dad works for Hallmark. They still welcomed me to the thank goodness. And I can remember feeling that welcome from everybody as the other sister-in-laws did. We were all welcome, we were all family. I do have to apologize to both Anne and Siobhan. I don't know what I was thinking about with those bridesmaid dresses. It was the night, I was seeing, and they were green belt or a green satin. I was certain they were never worn again. Mary Catherine, great taste. My favorite, there's so many memories of Anne and Mark and the family, but the one that will always hold a place in my heart was Halloween and 2005. And I was working on assignment in West Virginia. Billy was home in Kansas City working. We got a phone call that we needed to be in Kazakhstan in 7 days to meet our son. We had no idea what we were going to do. We knew we would be going sometime, but in 7 days, we were like, oh my gosh. That was in the morning. We got a call from the agency saying we need to be there in a week. Billy let Anne know. By the time that day was done, Anne had told us, Anne had spent her entire day researching flights, figuring out the best way to get us there, the best way to make it all work. We had to do nothing. I mean, and I'm saying like at 3 o'clock that afternoon, she called and said, here's your best options. Here's where you can go. I've got it all ready for you. All I need is a credit card. The relief that we had knowing that we could just just now go hop on that airplane with everything else now that was going on in our life. And then trying to get back was a little bit of a challenge because the visa was lost, maybe come from orphanage, and we were not leaving them there. We had to get back at them and worked tirelessly with the different embassies and with the different airlines to make sure that we bring that baby home on Christmas Day. This was Anne. She was passionate about what she did, not just for her family she loved so dearly, but for anybody that she could help. Everybody was family. Nobody went untouched by Anne's goodness. That is an amazing legacy. And it's not only in the United States, it's in all of these countries that you're hearing. And I certainly hope what the priest said is correct, that as she has joined now everybody in heaven, she is hearing about all of those great things that she did to increase everybody's life and make it all better, because that's who Anne was. And I'm with you guys, I need Anna's help. She's no longer here to enjoy all of this, but so glad that she's out of that suffering.
Thank you, Monica. And she is listening to all of this. She's so embarrassed. I think I saw Alan Hendricks wants to speak next. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mark and Roque and Maura and all the family for creating this space. I just want to share a little story that feels really big to me right now. In 2005, on February 25th, there was a larger gathering of women in Nicaragua, and it was at Ann and Mark's house. And an email went out, and it was a group beyond the coffee group. It was just like this all-inclusive women's gathering. I think there were 40 plus or more of us there that day. And so the email went out, and that's my granddaughter's birthday. And it was her first birthday. And so I talked with my daughter and we thought about it, and I called Anne and I said, Anne, I want to be in two places at once. It's Elizabeth Anna's first birthday. I wonder if it'd be okay if Anna and I both came with Elizabeth Anna. And I remember there was just this really quick pause, and Ed said something like, well, my house, and giggled and said, yeah, come on. And we got there, and there was just so much wonderful energy. All these women gathered of several generations, and Elizabeth hadn't taken her first step yet. And when she was a baby, from really early on, she liked to lay on the floor and put her ear to the floor and just stay there and listen. And so she was doing that. She was kind of in the middle of the circle, and conversation was happening, and people were moving around, and people were looking at me like, what are you doing letting that kid on the floor, you know? And all of a sudden she crawled over and pulled herself up. I don't remember whose chair she was pulling on, but she had her hands on someone's knees. And Anne was standing, and she caught what was going on, and she was just smiling. You could feel her energy. And Elizabeth Anna turned around and looked at Anne, and Anne put her hands out, and she took her first few steps at that party, walking towards Anne. And I just remember that day, the eyes rolling, or that wonderful rolling of eyes, like, oh, wow, you know. And then Anne picking her up and holding her. Elizabeth Anna's 19 now. And so it's a lot of years of sharing, and I'm just so grateful to be here there. We could probably spend days and days telling stories and remembering and celebrating this marvelous, incredible, gentle, strong soul. Thank you so much for gathering us all together.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna read another message in the chat from Lori Gargan. I found this is working so well. I want say thank you for letting me share the celebration of Anne's life. A member of the coffee group, I'm grateful for the years of friendship in Nicaragua, for sharing joys and sorrows as we raised our kids and worked together at times at the American school. Anne was smart, compassionate, and had a great sense of humor. Grew up in Moron, I'm Daniel's mother, love to all. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Oh. Sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
Hey there, Aunt Anne, just like everybody has expressed, has instilled in me something of an itch for social justice. She was always keeping tabs on me, and I think as everybody who knows her, she was hungry for information, and I think Mom gets a little jealous because she would find out things that I was doing in my life before Siobhan would. And then I would get a call from Mom. Things, why didn't you know me? I got a call from Anne, and she's does it for you. But several of those things included some of the work in the community that I live in now in Los Angeles. She's just always encouraging to step forward and be a part of that conversation and to put in the work there because it's necessary. And that's something that I will continue to have in my life there. So honored to be a part of this family to have her as a man. I just want to say off of that, she had a Google alert for everybody in this group. Your first name and your last.
Yeah, she was a sleuth. She did there when I was at BC, there were like webcams around the country, and she always. And I remember she texted me and be like, "I see you. You're across the campus." Actually, we have our iPad now, and I opened it up, and one of the apps that was open was Find My Friends, and it was open for my location. She was always watching, and even more so now. She doesn't see that. I think Sarah and Jack Dawson Paul Meyer wanted to share, so go right ahead.
Yeah, hi, everyone. This has been a blessing to be part of your day this morning. My story is actually about Anne kind of vicariously, in that Jack and I worked for the Center for Global Education, and we were in Managua from 1984 to 1986. And we got to know Mark first. And Mark was living in rural Nicaragua, and he was a priest, and he would share stories about his life and working with the Nicaraguans at the time. And what I remember most of all is that Mark would say, "Well, I'm thinking of leaving the priesthood because," and I said, "Well, why?" And he said, "Well, I'm not really into the lifestyle." And I didn't quite understand that until a couple months later when I saw Mark with Anne, and finally it registered the power that this woman had over a wonderful priest and a wonderful man. And I knew she had to be a keeper in his.
He wasn't going to be a priest for very
long. Yeah. So we thank Anne for all the joy and all the love that she brought Mark. And again, today has just been a beautiful chance for us to learn more about that. So Anne McSweeney, presente.
Thank you. We thank Anne for that too. Are there any final stories that want to be shared?
I am in me, so I just remember being in the like kindergarten, second grade, you guys come up and we're from a really, really small town. So we don't have a lot of culture there. So we were really excited that you guys are from a different country and you guys came to our classes. And we just appreciated you guys and you know, coordinating that. And just entering all the little questions from the kindergartens, like how do you say what in Spanish? But yeah, it was just something that I really shared memory. Yeah.
We have a couple of thoughts. In these days when losing somebody like Ann, you know, you're looking at life and questioning, you know, really what is life about? And in the midst of that, I got a song that John Wright and Ann Butwell sent me from Brett Haslam, who did a song called May You Rest. And in the one line stood out to me: you will be a mirror reflecting God's face. That's kind of a phrase that priests use today in this holiday, you know. And that stood out to me because we began to hear from people about the impact Ann had made in people's lives. And I knew, you know, a lot of people, but a lot of the stuff I didn't know. You know, I've been married to her for 30 some years. Ann would know. So that was surprising, you know, that, I mean, and that kind of summarizes, I think, a lot of what people said here today, both online and present here. And it also kind of helped answer the question about what are we doing? You know, in a certain sense, we're all supposed to be a mirror reflecting God's face. In a certain sense, we all do. But maybe our role is really helping one another to do that better, you know. So I'll finish with this quote from a famous Yankee catcher philosopher. He said, "The future ain't what it used to be." And with the passing of Ann, that's something I had to face. The future ain't what I planned it to be. But maybe there's a positive spin on that. If we can kind of take the message of Ann's life and try to help one another be that better reflection of God's face. So I want to echo what Maura said. The last words we heard from Ann were love, love, love. And she said it with this emotion like, go out, you know, like we're being sent out to go. And, you know, that's probably a fitting image of her life. And to have the clarity to know that at the end, that's really what life is about. So I want to thank all of you for everything you've done for us during Ann's illness and with her passing, all your support. I want to especially thank Sister Reed here, who really improved all the photos that showed up decently on a projector and working on the program and just a lot of support. So thanks everyone for everything you've done here to help celebrate Ann's life. That's it.
You don't have to go home, but you can stay. Love you all. Thank you very much.
Mil gracias.
Gracias.
Mil gracias.
Amor, amor, amor.
Amor,
Thank
amor,
you.
amor.
Thank you.